What's going on, everyone? Welcome, my friends. How are you? Are you ready? Today we have a big ballroom day lined up for you. Last month we covered a lot of Latin, and I will this month as well, just a touch, but we seem to have a little bit more emphasis on the ballroom this time around, and there seem to be a running theme, leading and following, and understanding what those mean. Also, we're going to go through sway, rise and fall, some of the other important elements and technique, abilities and skills that you need to have to dance ballroom dancing beautifully. But don't worry, if you're a Latin dancer as well, you're going to find that a lot of these things cross-pollinate, right? They come across from the same source. You have to remember one thing. Fun fact about the technique books when they were written. The ballroom books were originally put together by Alex Moore back in the 50s to sort of standardize what different studios were teaching. So across the board, teachers could obviously learn and be able to, if you went to one studio, you'd learn a whisk, you go to the next studio, the whisk was the same, right? And then in the sort of, I think it was in the, Walter Laird created a technique book, but then the ISTD, the Imperial Society Teachers of Dance in London, they also got together to decide, hey, we need to standardize and create a sort of way we can examine people. Teachers can also learn and create a standardized version ourselves as well. And so they looked at the ballroom book and went, oh, that's pretty good there. They've got the technique, they've got the footwork, the tones, the lead follow chart is in there, which is not in the ballroom books because that's needed in Latin, precedes and follows. So if you look at the two books, they're very much, a copy of each other, but one was, the Latin was done at a bit of a later date. And so the point being is that you're going to find a lot crossover in a way, but there's different effects we're trying to create in both styles, okay? So one of the things I want you to think about with ballroom dancing is that there is an echo. Okay, thank you very much. Let me just see if I can play with this a little bit. Echo, echo, echo. Give me one more moment. Thank you for telling me that, by the way, Dave. I appreciate that. Give me a second. Hold on. Yes, I know what it is. I'll just turn it off. Okay, anyways, so let me know if that's any better, okay? If not, I'll just restart my little devices, okay? So, touch again, testing 1, 2, 3, and I'll get back into the technique thing and just edit that out. Technique, technique, technique. How is it now? Boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom. Boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom. Boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom. Thank you for waiting, by the way. And yeah, leave a question. I've got the chat window open in the members area. Feel free to leave a question below if you need to do it there, or you can do it like within the YouTube. No echo here. So Brooke, maybe it's your speakers. Okay, Brooke, appreciate that. What's up, Brooke? Nice to have you here. Thank you for joining in. So no echo from Brooke. We've got Dave saying there's a bit of an echo. So yeah, look, I'm going to edit this anyway. So if there's a bit of an echo, apologies, but I always upload the video and I'll make sure that there's no echo there. If there is, I'm going to cry and then I'll just probably redo it. So anyways, quickly coming back to the technique side of things, there's a cross-pollination between the two, right? So, but we're trying to do this within ballroom dancing. In ballroom dancing, it's two people dancing as one. And in Latin dancing, we're looking at two people dancing together. And the difference is in this regard, we've got a lead and follow from the man and lady within the Latin to create a story, right? So the man leads, there is a response from the lady. And so she connects to that lead and then she moves, right? And so because of that, there's a picture, a character, a story delivered between male and female, right? Within ballroom, you've got two people, like it or not, stuck together, right? Having to move as one, not together necessarily. Like, so the difference in my mind is that there is a lead from the man, there is a response from the lady, and I'm going to give you some practical tips you can use to think about this within ballroom dancing. But there is a response from the lady, and the lady must dance, of course, her own movement. But the feeling when it's done right is incredible because you can very much understand that connection as moving as one versus two people dancing at the same time, which is actually a very different feeling. Now, that's our highest goal, right? That's our aspiration, all right? Because I can assure you, as a professional myself and 20 years of dancing, running a studio for over 12, it's the 12th year now, and dancing with countless people, men, women, teenagers, all that sort of thing. You rarely get those times where it's just impeccable, right? And you have that movement as one. But when it happens, it's like the best drug ever, okay? It's why we're so crazy up in these membership area trying to figure out how do we get to that next stage. Now, lastly, there are 2 videos today I'm going to go through from you fantastic people who sent them in, you brave, courageous souls. So send the videos in. I'm happy to do those because I get a much better insight to where you're at to guide you properly. Okay, you have to remember that when we're looking at improving our dancing and really trying to extract the best from ourselves, you're going to be at a different level, right? So meaning that, you know, you might be at this level and you want to get, you know, to that level in skill development. And so the information that I need to share is important to the level you're at, because what is important for an open amateur competitor is, and when they send me a video, is very different to the person who's like 6 months in, just about to do their first mental test, right? Although their question that they ask might sound like they need what the open amateur would need, it would be very different, right? If I watched their dancing, like, okay, you're asking the wrong question, or you've got the right idea, but you know, you need to think about this first, right? So keep that in mind. Now, by the way, so thank you, Lisa. Welcome here as well. Awesome to have you. Okay, so my Lord, this is going to be fantastic. So let's rock this out. All right, if we can just do this. Boom. Okay, so Elizabeth, welcome. Hey, Vaughan, we are trying to improve our waltz and quick step techniques. There are 2 aspects in the dances with lots of room for improvement, but not sure how to change what we are doing. New partner. Just messing with you. Don't do that. The rise and fall. What is the best way to improve it? Good question. And in the waltz, this is number 2, the use of the upper body. When we watch more experienced dancers, they are tilting their bodies and their arms throughout the dance. So we need a rule to understand which way you tilt / lead and at what point. Okay, this is a very good question. It's a big one. So stay with me. And again, most of you do ballroom dancing, so this is going to be very pertinent to you, okay? Now, first of all, you have to understand some definitions to start with. This is important, so we all have a baseline of knowing what the hell I'm talking about. So tilting is what you're seeing, but realistically, what is happening is you're noticing a couple of things. One is sway. There are 4 different types of sway I'll talk about. That they won't matter. One will matter the most today, but there's 4 of those, right? The other thing you're looking at is the expression of the dynamic, how you would call it. What would be the word? I wrote it down here. So body rhythm and dynamic shaping. So you're noticing the head weight, essentially, and the volume of the hold between the couple. And if you watch YouTube, the majority of videos you see on there are not of beginners like yourself, say, for example, putting a video on YouTube and hundreds of thousands of people watching that. No, you're seeing the cream of the crop, the top ballroom dancers in the world with massive developed movement, etc., sometimes overdeveloped, moving, okay? And so you look at that and think, oh, I need to do that. It's like, no, because in competition, it's different, right? You're trying to maximize movement, trying to maximize shaping, maximize hold, maximize the space between you to get the ultimate rhythm from your upper body, from your lower legs, right? And to get all that together. Social dancing, for example, medal dancing, hobby dancing, you're not aiming to do that, all right? I always make a clear distinction at my social dance events. If a competition couple comes, you're not doing competition dancing. Relax, chill out, relax your hold a little bit, like, and actually like dance the lady you're with to her best ability, right? There's actually it's a different way. It's in my head, it's a different approach, yeah. When you're training for competition, it's a different ball game too. So we're looking at sway, and then you've got this development, sometimes overdevelopment, which is what the nature of competition does. Next thing is leading and following, right? So that leads into expression, which is important for everyone. And I've got some tips we'll talk about in a second for leading when I get through these other points. Okay, rise and fall. Why don't you tell me, ladies and gentlemen, what is rise and fall? What is it? Because it's actually quite an important element within the ballroom dancing. Okay, so did you come up with an answer? I feel like I should have a clock or like some ticking music, okay? So rise and fall, as a definition, is elevation and lowering through the feet, the legs, and the body, all right? So if we think about that in a different context, right? So, or not different context, but if we look at that, so we've got the elevation, okay? So that's literally going up, through our feet, through our legs, and of course, through our body. Now, you can also only have it through your legs and your body, i.e. when you do a turn going backwards as the man or lady, all right, you're going to have no foot rise, meaning that I'll go back, toe, heel. I will not go up on that foot again. I'll actually be down on it, but I'll continue to rise through the next 2 steps, say in the waltz, through my feet, my legs, and my body. So there are times you don't actually rise up through your, there are times you actually don't rise up through your feet, okay? So now, here's another definition to understand. So we've got rise and fall, which is what it's called in the technique books. Then you have, and realistically, it should be called rise and lowering, right? So the lowering aspect is very important. I had a student last night who was really struggling with lowering, and wow, did I notice the catastrophic dancing he created because he never lowered at the end of 3 on waltz, and he was trying to go forward on a toe, and it like destroyed his dancing. When he lowered and drove on a heel, so for context, right, when he actually got his feet to come together, and then, so what he would do is he would stay up here, and he'd bend his knees, keep his heels up, and then he'd try and step forward. And every time he would trip and smash his partner. And so we'd keep going again. He'd start feeling embarrassed, but said, don't worry, lower your heel, okay? Lower. That's not falling. Lowering is the foot going down, okay? And then you can lower the knees. The body falls, and that's what creates the swing in ballroom dancing, right? So we rise, we lower, we fall, and then that creates the swing. Rise, lower, fall, swing. Rise, lower, fall, swing. And if all I did was say to you, that's what you need to focus on and really hone that skill, your dancing would increase you would have a much better feel for your dancing. Because when you look to rise, within technique, you have different levels of rising. So I like to consider it in a very simple way, like a hotel. So when you look at rise, you have the ground floor, you have the basement, you have level 1 and 2. Okay, that's your hotel lobby. Decorate it however you will. So the ground floor is you standing normally. All right. So we've got our ground floor is just you in your ballroom position. All right. Obviously, the knees always slightly flexed. There's ground floor. The basement is actually the lowest point of your fall and when you've lowered, right? The thing is, in ballroom dancing, you rise in waltz at the end of beat 1. So you don't keep lowering down, okay? So we've gone ground floor. That lowering is basement level. Boom. You're rising up from the basement back through the ground. Then when you do step 2, you're going up to level 1. Then once you get up to the top and you close your feet on beat 3, you're going up to level 2, and then you come back down to the ground floor, right? Then what do? Well, to do the next step, you go to a basement again, but then you got to come back up through the ground, right? Then back up to 1, then back up to level 2, and then you lower. That's a good way of an analogy in your brain of sort of thinking like how much do you sort of go up and down, or what are these levels? In the actual technique book, so to speak, it will say for each individual figure, rise at the end of 1, continue on 2, continue on 3, lower at the end of beat 3. Okay, that's the sort of standard rise and the standard lowering, and you're falling between 3 and 1. The other way I just said it was you got the ground floor, level 1 and 2, and then the basement, of course. So you got basement, you're coming up to ground, you're going up to level 1, level 2, and then you go back down again. So that's the sort of mental weight. Now, that helps a lot with foxtrot, because when you look at foxtrot, that level 2 does not exist, only on some figures. So here's where it's important to understand. If you ever want to become a top dancer, so when you watch the dancers on YouTube and you see the highest developed techniques, so to speak, and fundamentals, what they've got is such a strong base of what I'm talking about. They understand the rise and fall, like exactly what I'm talking about. They know every step's rise and fall to an extent, right? And they execute it to the best that they can. And then they've got this insane upper body shaping, right? So if you understand in foxtrot, you don't go to level 2, but there might be 1 or 2 steps where you do hit it. But as a rule, you don't. You only go to level 1. So you still hit the basement, you ground in 1. And then you sort of hover at that level, right? That's how foxtrot works. So it has a much more gentle rise and fall, okay? But individual figures can vary, right? So there's always an exception to the rule. So in waltz, you'll have the same thing. Some steps you might swing up a little higher and rise higher than others, and others you won't. So for example, a hesitation change in the waltz will not have rise like you would in a natural spin turn. Okay, so now, the point of all that understanding is you've got to feel this rise and fall through your feet, your legs, and your body. Now, one of the things when it comes to leading and understanding rise and fall is, ladies, you cannot initiate rise and fall. You can't initiate turn. You can't initiate the timing, right? That's the man's responsibility when it comes to leading. What you do, though, is very important. Very, 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 very important. You respond to it. So what you do is you give the man your body in response to his lead. So for example, you have this when you're doing a natural turn in the waltz. So you'll go back 1 and you're rising up on 2. As the man goes up, and hopefully he goes up nicely on his toes, right? You have to give your body up to him. So there's sort of this feeling of like pulling your body up. See how it's like pulling a piece of spaghetti off a plate, right? You're pulling your body up, you lower, and then you go into the next step. So you're trying to literally give your body up towards the man. You do this in Foxtrot too and Quickstep. Just it's really done the most because of that extra bit of rise in the waltz, right? So if anything, Elizabeth, what you aim to do is on your sort of basic movements, first of all, make sure you're connected. This is, you have to have and we'll see in the videos, like you can dance well, but you have to have a connection in your center here, like this point. You must be in contact because you have to feel where the man is and also be able to move up towards him, not away from him. Hence, dancing as one, not two individual people, right? So you should feel a contact point, and then the man's rise, you respond to. So however sort of high he's going, you go with him. When he lowers, of course, you're lowering in response. Okay? So that's where these sort of the rise and fall principles and the leading and following start to connect together there. Hence why it's really important to understand what you're actually trying to do. What? Isn't that amazing? Okay. Okay. So stay with me. I know this is a lot of detail, but this is so, so important. And if you do find that you're like, wow, this is a lot of information. How do I actually execute this? When should I execute it? What are some practical exercises? What's some more information on this? There's Ballroom Mastery Academy, all right, which is like a 6-week moduled out course with about 100 videos that train you in some fundamentals that I build with. Then there's Ballroom Mastery Academy Next Level, which has 200 videos, and it's not the amount of videos that matter here. You have to understand that I probably could have done it in less videos in a way, but I was trying to make sure that each of these, as you know, these videos they all connect and each lessons can come back to each other. But once you've done the BMA and you go to the next level, it's, as Ulrich said, it's like going to university. You go from high school to uni sort of thing. And then there is lessons on rise and fall, heel turn exercises, driving exercises, how to swing your body, right? How to use rise and fall properly, musicality ideas, lead and follow. There's a whole chapter on that. And there's timing, music, beats and bars, all that sort of stuff. So all the nitty gritty stuff that you're like, oh, how do I do this? Well, there's a foundation first, and then then you can put these into practical use. And yeah, people experience massive, massive results of that. But it's a beast, okay? And you're going to need to invest in it, right? That course is heavy, but it's like if I died tomorrow, it's like distilled in the information that I'd be very happy to be sort of like passing on as like this is going to help you the most, right? But again, it's way cheaper than having to learn that over like 20 years of doing lessons every week. Okay. So, anyways, if you're interested in that, let me know. But if we look at the idea of sway now, ladies and gentlemen, what is sway? Boom. I want to know. I want you to tell me what is the sway. Tell me. Is it this? Like when you're drunk? Too much tequila? Yeah. So sway, in its sort of general understanding, is essentially a way we balance. Right? What are we balancing though? We're balancing swing. So when a plane turns, okay, a plane, how does it turn? Well, it turns, so it's going forward, so it's got acceleration, right? And then its body is sort of swinging around a point, it's not a real point, but around the nose, as an example. And I'm not a pilot, so I might screw all that up. But the idea is that if you notice it turn, what does its wings do? It's like that, isn't it? It doesn't just go right. And so in ballroom dancing, when we move forward and up, that natural rise that comes through the feet and the legs and the turn that we have actually lends itself to a gentle sway. And we're swaying to the inside of the turn. So that's the normal and general sway, and we do it for balance. And when you don't do it, because as you go forward, all that energy, when you take the second step and you go to close your feet, you fall, right? Because you need to have your body turn. Now, when you see sort of the idea of sway fully developed, you start to see a huge amount of like shaping come in and all that sort of thing. So, and there is a distinction between shaping and sway. Okay, so we're not talking about shaping, which is a question you have, which I will touch on, but the sway principle is very, very important. Now, here's the good news for you, because when I went to England to train with Anne Gleave, I was really like wanting to understand. I could see like I'm not creating shape like those guys. How do I do that? And she says, well, Vaughan, the good news is if you can understand how to swing well, swing properly through your ballroom dancing and get the frontal plane of movement. So when you walk, that's the frontal plane. That's, moving forward or backward, right? This is your turning plane, okay? And then you have your sway plane. She goes, the sway plane will take care of itself if you can get a really good drive going forward and you can get a really good swing, okay? The turn and swing. You do those two parts, the sway starts to take care of itself. And then at a very high level, you start to mess around with sway. It's sort of like the last piece. And I was like, well, that's comforting to know. I've only danced for like 10 years working all this out. And then it's like, okay, cool. I don't even need to think about that sway thing that much. I just have to really get good at moving forward and backward with good posture, good hold. I need to get really good at swinging the body, getting that rise and fall. And she's like, yeah, that's what you're working on. So that worked tremendously in my own experience. So we don't really need to mess around with sway. That's the good news. You have to know it exists, what it is, respond to the man, but you're not trying to develop it. And here's why. You will look like a numpty. Yes, you will. You'll go on that floor and look retarded. And why? Because you go like this. You'll take a step, and I'm always using the natural turn in the waltz as an example. It's very easy to understand. But you will be like collapse, side, oh my God, and then next step, yeah? So, and why? Because your postural foundations suck. Because in the beginning, you just need to learn to stand up, hold your body, dance together, right? Right, step properly through your feet, right? Heel, toe, etc. Rise properly, close and lower properly, yeah? If you start messing around with sway, you're gonna be like this, collapse, do no feet properly, kick your partner in the crotch. Great lesson, right? Great training. So no, you need to know that the sway idea, we don't need to mess around with it too much. This is the good news. Now, in terms of the other two, the other three bits of sway I'll talk about, because it does exist, obviously. We have broken sway, which is essentially from the waist. So that's when you find like a tipple chasse in the quick step, you're not actually swaying inside the turn, you're tilting outwards. Then you have cosmetic sway. So for example, when you do an oversway or throwaway oversway and you see that big shape happening, that's cosmetic. You're doing it to create an artistic line, a picture, if you will. It's not necessarily needed for the movement, right? Like you do it a little bit, but then you do it a lot, that's cosmetic. And then you have linear sway. So you'll notice that your body is turning in the foxtrot, but you're also creating a sway, right? So that turn, we call that a linear sway because you're not actually like closing your feet and lowering like you do in the waltz. But the point being is that you need to know it's there if you get the foundations right, footwork, right? You understand your feet positions, you're rising properly, right? You're dancing correctly, your feet are tracking as a partner. I know it sounds like a lot, but that is what ballroom dancing is. It's what the mastery of ballroom dancing is. It's all understanding that, timing it so you dance as one. When all that happens and you're doing it like unconsciously, you have space to start to use your upper body in an advanced way. All right, it makes sense, right? Like how the hell are you gonna play Rachmaninoff or Chopin if you cannot play your scales on the piano, right? Like you're barking up the wrong tree and you're thinking the wrong thing. And unfortunately, I think because of the internet, it's beautiful in one way, and the other way, it's like you get these false ideas of like, oh, I'll just go like do that. And so you don't realize the insanity of the foundations that most couples who are dancing at a high level have worked for, right? To sort of earn that ability to do it. It doesn't mean you can't experiment, so I'm not discouraging you from that. I'm just helping you understand that. Think of the music example. How are you going to play Chopin or Rachmaninoff without solid scale foundations that are unconscious, that you don't have to think about, right? So you can put your focus into, how do I play this piece? What was that person trying to do? Like, so you can actually interpret it properly and then like, use your body to play properly, right? So anyways, what do you think of that answer, right? Let me know. In the practical sense, what do you focus on? Your feet, rising and falling together as a couple, and staying together. I would hazard a guess that there would be times where you separate and you're bumping, So with that in mind, you're not going to be able to follow rise and fall very well. Okay, so now I do want to touch on one more thing. So in terms of this will come into the lead and follow aspect. So let's keep coming with me. You guys rock. I love this. This is fantastic. So it's good that it's recorded so you can come back to this. We're going to think about lead and follow, and I want you to understand something. I talked about the lady responding to the man. Okay, so going up and down together, sort of at the same time, that sort of thing. When you look at um, the shaping you were talking about, so what you're watching, what you're seeing, the lady is an expression of the man's physical movement. So if I've got a lady here in my hand and I'm wanting to do like a lunge, right? And I might sway my body first to then move into it. I want her to feel all of that. And if I move my hand, right, that comes as a consequence of the lady actually dancing her body to the fullest capacity of the movement. This is why ladies need to understand all the technique, what their steps are, never be a handbag, never be a handbag. Don't be hanging on the man. Don't be that sack of potatoes. Ain't no man want that, right? Even if you go to the gym, hurts the shoulder. So ladies, you've got to hold yourself up. You've got to move, but it happens after the lead. And then, so what happens is the man provides like a home for you in his frame, and then the frame is not static, even though it looks static. It actually does breathe. The thing is, and again, we're talking about like advanced dancing here, yeah? But the idea is that I don't just like move my hand and go follow it. Like what happens is the lady knows I'm doing a certain step and she can feel through my body the shape I'm trying to create, and she in turn feels that shape. You understand? So she becomes like the physical expression, if you will, of my lead. And that's a great way of thinking about ballroom dancing. The lady becomes a physical expression of the man's lead. Okay. So now how do we do that? Well, here's a couple of little tips I'll give you. You can jot down, write down, and come back to. The first is the lady never turns any movement, right? This is a good quote here, right? So think of the lady is riding behind the man on the back seat of a tandem bicycle. So she may create powerful movement with a strong use of her feet and legs, but she may not steer into the turn as the man is holding the steering handlebar, okay? Another one is the man's right hand moves with the lady's back. It does not move the lady's back, okay? Another one. Always allow the lady to be completely balanced over her own foot so she's able to move her body weight efficiently. That's a good one, right? So essentially, look, guys, this is also important for Latin, right? Because again, there's crossover here. So if I'm dancing, my job is not to go like, what's my step? I've got to do my step on time. As the man, my job is to be like, I've got to put the lady onto her legs and bring her up, right? And bring her out. That's the goal, right? And then you can imagine, oh, what a different perspective. That might feel better. It's true. You also give time for the lady to fill any shapes you want to create instead of just powering through. Now, in Latin, it's a similar idea because what you're doing is you have a connection maybe through one hand, and you can feel there's like a question answer, like a response to the man's like initiation of the lead. But you have to be able to let the lady finish her movement, boom, and like bring her back off any step she does. It's not just like bang and pull. So it's difficult, but that crosses over that idea. Now, one more I'll give here. The man must talk to the lady with his body, and the lady must listen to the man through the contact with his body. Boom! Through the contact, right? Okay. So the man must talk. Your body's saying, we're doing this, we're doing that. Okay. Hence why moving away from the routine, which is another question now coming up, it's important to understand this concept of being connected with each other, having a good hold, because then you're able to literally talk through your body, okay, what to do. So there's a lot in that, and these tips sort of come from Jeffrey Hearn. He's got many great books, but they're super advanced content and things like that to understand. But I like to use them and sort of dilute them for what's applicable to you. So let me know what stands out to you. As a takeaway, this is what you do, okay? Do not overcomplicate yourself, all right? Some things matter more than others. So focus on great feet and being balanced as a couple, all right? So staying together, so that way the rise and fall can start working, all right? You can start to have good quality rhythm being developed. Does that make sense? And if you're not staying together very well, then that's specifically one of the things you're gonna have to learn to work on, right? Very much so. If you're not balanced as a couple, nothing matters, right? You can shape beautifully, but you'll hate your life because you'll be hitting each other. So I hope that makes sense. Enjoy it. See how you go. That I love questions like that. That was nice and in depth. Okay, so you will need to rewatch that again because I gave you a lot of information. Okay, so we're not there yet. Love those transitions though. Okay, hello, Vaughan from ULRICH. Overall, I can give my partner a good indication of which figure in dance I want to dance in ballroom dancing. This also works well for the quick step, except for figures like the woodpecker and pendulums. Yes, because they are very difficult to lead sort of out of nowhere. I notice that my partner falls back at the end of a learned amalgamation. What did you do to her, ULRICH? Hey? What did you do to push her off balance? If I want to deviate from this, for example, doing 4 pendulums instead of 2, right? You crazy bastard, or by asking for such a figure from different previous figures. It doesn't work. Okay, so question number 2, 2 questions. What type of lead can support this communication? Yell in her face, yeah? Like, 2 pendulums! No, don't do any of that. Your body communicates the lead, all right? Just what I said before. You're picking a very difficult figure, right? Not that you can't do it, and I encourage you to experiment. But it's not like you're picking a chasse here, right? You're picking at full, full bars, very fast movement of the legs, which first of all, if your legs are slow, you're gonna have a problem. So you got that to contend with. You've got the legs moving beautifully as a couple. Yeah, and so there's a lowering that has to happen very quickly if you do 2 versus 4. So yeah, but your body communicates the lead ultimately, not yelling in her face. Now, number 2, when do you let go of learned choreography? Good question, huh? Everyone can relate to this one. So I think this is the more pertinent one in a way. All right. So like if I just go back to question 1 for a second, when you're dancing with someone and you want to change the routine and you want to move into the next thing, this is uh, even though I talk about like levels and that sort of thing, it can be very easy to box yourself in. I'm always encouraging from day one for dancers to get comfortable with experimenting. I have some food for thought at the end I'd like to give you on why people do not they don't understand how to actually experiment properly, right? They get very caught up in their own head about doing things right and not wanting to look bad, which stifles creativity and your ability to experiment because you're going to make a shit ton of mistakes. That's correct. You're going to make so many mistakes because you're experimenting. Yeah. So when you're trying to lead, there's not necessarily a singular thing I can say that's going to help you go from, say, 4 pendulums to 2 and lead it effectively, right? First of all, you have to do the pendulums. If you do 4 well, properly together in harmony to time and music consistently, and you can come out. And also, this is a key thing, the steps before it, going into it, are executed to the point where your pendulums always work well. And I mean always, like you're doing your pendulums and you're not kicking, then she's kicking, or you're on different legs, you know what I mean? Those mistakes, and you're coming out well. You're at a point where you can just try without telling her and try, we're going to do 2, right? And you literally just do 2 because the ending of the second one is going to be the same as the ending of the 4th one, right? You're going to finish it like the same way. So the cue for her and the lead is recognizable, right? The talking of your body helps it understand what you're doing. But again, you have to know like that step has to work, and it's already an advanced figure, which means it brings its own headaches because it's harder to execute the same way a basic step would be in. Yeah. So anyway, you can do it, and I encourage you to experiment. Like I encourage everyone, you must experiment. You must try different things within your dancing. Even if you've got the same routines like you do, Dave, like with your queued up music, you have to try to dance. And a good piece of advice I got from one of the legends in dancing, Brian Watson, he's like, Vaughan, you've got to always try to dance, never dance the same thing twice. So even if it's the same routine, the song might be different. So what you try to do is maybe you create a bit more feeling on that step that you have always been dancing the same way, right? Which we'll come to in Dave with the foxtrot. I'm going to talk a little bit about the idea of drifting, all right? So stay with me on this, it's important. So the goal here is to get your steps right. Then as you're doing that, you experiment. And I used to do this a lot with Alison. I would try one way, and then Penny would say, like, don't tell her what you're doing on this next one, Vaughan. right? She hated it because she always wanted to do the routine exactly as it was. And I'd be like, haha, this is my moment. And I wouldn't lead it very well. And she'd be like, see, you're not doing it well. And I'd be like, well, how am I going to get better? You know, like this is how you get better. Like, but we had always a clash. This is why dancing's so hard. We always would clash because I'd be like, look, I'm going to go off script and I'm not going to do it very well. We know this, yeah? So I don't need you telling me like it's going to be shit. It probably is, right? 90% chance. But what's going to happen? We're on the floor with 20 couples who are powerful, really good and moving, and I need to change the routine. You know, you're going to be cranky because like one, I can't, or I stop dancing or whatever, or I hit someone. Yeah. So like, what's the answer here? It's like you experiment. You experiment until you start getting it right all the time. Okay, and that's a cool thing to do. So now, when we let go of choreography, this is a good one, right? So you learn to let go of choreography when the music's on. So when I made a video a long time ago on my YouTube channel, which is still relevant now, but it's great to watch because, and not because I'm doing it, because I think the concept is something that was like a big aha for me. And I was like, oh, this is a good way of approaching like lessons and practice and dancing. So in a way, you've got like your head dancing and your heart dancing. Okay. So you dance with your head probably all the time, right? Right, Ulrich? Right, Lisa? Right? With your head all the time. Meaning that you're thinking, what's my step? What's my technique? What's that rise and fall Vaughan was talking about? You're like, as the music's on. It's too hard to do that, right? But we do it because we sort of train ourselves to do that. The second way is dancing with your heart. It's a nice sort of esoteric way of saying that you're not thinking about your dancing. You're actually trying to connect to the music, like the feeling of the song, the sound, and in your body, you're trying to create a feeling in the movement. And it's look, you can do it simply like, okay, lift your arms up. Okay, lift them again. Okay, think about lifting your arms. Lift them with the fingers first, right? Okay, so you're in your head thinking, okay, I can feel my shoulders, like you're in your body, right? That's what being in your head is like. You can also lift your arms and lift them whenever you want, but feel like you're doing it pushing air, pushing heavy air. So warm, like create a feeling in it as you do it. So you're not thinking about creating a feeling, like create the feeling. Have your arms on like strings, like a puppet master's pulling them up. Yeah. So what you do is within your actual physiologies, you create a feeling and you express it through movement. That's what you try and do. Once all is said and done with all the technique in dancing, you've got your feet working to the best you can. Let's say they're 80% there. Yeah. You're closing relatively okay in your ballroom dancing. You're on time, right? Most of the time. So let's say you're 80% there across the board. You can still do what I'm talking about when the music's on. You get that feeling, right? You get that and then if you make a mistake, this is the problem why technique is so important. Because if you make a mistake, it takes you out of that mode and puts you back in your head like, oh my God, I fell over or I tripped, right? And so it gets you out of that mode and then you're back in your head, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Yeah. We can all relate to this, yeah. So the thing is you try to train yourself. You don't try to train yourself. You just be aware that when the music's on, you let go and you do the routine. You don't have to be like Fred Astaire and make a whole brand new routine out of scratch on the go. In fact, that doesn't work anyway, really. Um, so the point being is that you let go when the music is on. Okay, I had to frame it with everything because it's easier said than done. Because your brain, as soon as you make a mistake, will snap you into analytical mode, and then you get caught up on that. Now you're definitely not dancing with your partner at that moment, right? So a lot of the time it's a reframe, it's a perception shift. It's like, okay, you can try that. If that doesn't work, maybe try thinking about where maybe in this time I'll dance my lady. Where do I put her on every step? Is she on her foot? Is she coming out? Right? That's another way of doing it too. But I like the idea of head heart. And so when there's no music on, all in your head, you're all in your body. You're really, really in the weeds of like, what am I doing with my technique? Does that make sense? Right? It's a really great way of approaching things. Okay. And I found from feedback from others, it's like, oh, that's a cool way of switching things up. Okay. So learn to let go when the music's on. Be present with the music and guide your partner through the dance. Being aware is also the key. So you're not focused on the analytical, logical mind. All right. Now, one thing about the body, which is amazing, is your body is a feedback system. So you, even if you had no thoughts at all about your dancing, your body will tell you, like, as you finish your routine, oh yeah, I tripped there, I didn't close there. Like, you'll actually have an amazing way of getting a biofeedback mechanism happening. So this is why you can just sort of trust in yourself a little bit more, about what to do. Okay. So last thing, about this like thing, do your best to dance with as little force as possible. So as little tightness, and so you're trying to get like maximum energy, but you're not trying to force it. You're not trying to be strong and strengthen your body, but with a positive energy and well balanced arms and body weight. Right. So this is how you sort of learn to let go. Because again, why can't you let go? Well, there's the mindset side of things, which we're going to talk about at the end. But then there's also the physiological stuff, like your balance is bad, right? You're not holding very well, and you're not completing your steps correctly. Any of those problems will cause you to go off balance and will cause you to go off time. And you'll know that, and you'll feel that, and you'll be so drawn to it that you can't let go. Okay? So there's that, there's having good technique foundation, right? So now, one thing I've noticed with couples in this sort of problem is how tight their upper back is. So I would encourage all of you, be aware of your upper back and relax your shoulders. Relax your shoulders, relax your shoulders when you move. You'll find that the back tension, if you can let that go, will actually help you to literally let go when you dance. Okay, now, let me just do this next little bit. Okay, hope you're enjoying this. What you're thinking about this, leave me your questions and comments below. I love bringing you this content, and I feel this is a good lesson for everyone today. There's a lot of information, which is why it's so important that you don't think one and done. You got to go back like Dance at Home. That is a library for you, a resource that, yes, you can go step by step, but realistically, it's actually for you to go in and be like, oh, yeah, let's revisit that one. Let's revisit that one. Let's go back through this lesson. Ballroom Mastery Academy is a foundational course, and the next level again is a different type of course that builds together. All three of these actually interconnect, right? And so anyone has all those programs can obviously see when I'm doing it. It's like, look, go and do this in that program, go and do this, and you'll find that it's like, oh, that's why we need to do this. I'm noticing in these videos already massive improvement from two students here. So let's get into the next part now, which is some video feedback. And I want to frame for all of you. It's really great you send me videos. I love it. I can't use every video you send me, right? And there's no guarantee I will use it in the next month. The act of you doing it though, have you noticed when you hit record, the fear, right? I do. I recorded a video last night with the student. I was like, wow, I was dancing so, like, the feeling I had in dancing before versus when I hit that record button, it always changes, right? It's like, it's a competing, that feeling of competing and dancing on a dance floor in front of people is extremely different to your private lesson, to your group class, to your social dancing, right? So the act of doing it though sort of pushes your body, doesn't it? It like activates you in a different way. You're trying to be a little better every time with every step, aren't you? Which can put you in your head more. So the act of doing it though is mainly the win, not necessarily if I see it or demonstrate it, or not see it, but put it on the video for other people to watch. The second thing is too, it gives you courage, right? Because people are terrified. Do you know how many people watch my videos? And I've said, like, over 1 million people a year watching my content, right? Do you know how many videos people send in? Just you crazy lot. Yeah. Like, when I ask for people, send me your stuff, and like, I'll give feedback. Very few people do it. Why? Because they're terrified of the fear of that ridicule. Yeah. So, but the act of doing it is what makes you better at dancing. Okay. So that's what's so cool about it. So I encourage you, do it. And if I can get to it, I will. And I often try to be fair like that. So, but I encourage you, definitely do it more. Now let's have a look at this next one. Here we go. I love that because first of all, Lisa, you have come a long way. Like those comp videos you sent me like last year, Damn, good for you. Like you've definitely improved. So I know exactly what we're going to work on. There's a few things there. So in your cha-cha, you're asking like first, here's your question. First, I would like to say thanks for your advice in previous Q&As on how to improve my turns in rumba. I'm extremely happy to say that in my mind, they're much neater. No, they definitely are. I've seen that. However, in the cha-cha, they stink. I can't seem to get the same neat feet in my turns as I feel I'm always catching up and sort of managing to get them uh, from one move to the other surviving, which means my posture, balance movements, and my arm movements suffer. Any clues on how to be ahead of the music so that I have time to articulate my turns? Okay, so there's actually a lot of things in here that I'd like to work on, but again, I don't want to overcomplicate what you can do because there's always more we can do, right? And who the hell can't relate to any of that? The cha-cha for me was always like this, oh my God, it's so fast. And I was like, no, I'm too slow. And so the idea is that, remember, feet hit the beat. So first of all, you gotta get faster feet, obviously, if you want to be on the beat. And I could see like you felt like, oh yeah, you're catching yourself, trying to catch yourself on the speed. But let's backtrack from there a little bit. In terms of your actual body, I would like you have a great foundation. Like no doubt people watching this like, wow, like straight off the bat, great presence, beautiful posture. You have a sort of way about you which looks fantastic, right? But what's missing? There's actually a rhythm missing, and because you're working well with your feet to an extent, like we can talk about that. But let's assume you only improve your feet a little bit more, like you get a little bit more extension out of your feet, about like a little bit more stretch, a little bit of foot placement, things like that. What's actually missing? Body rhythm. So your actual use of your hips. And I don't know, you ballet trained? Like, do you have a background in that? Because you certainly have that look. And you're going to want to use your hips, which in ballet is like a no-no, right? You're not moving your hips at all like you should in Latin. So, for example, when you do your cha-cha locks, you're going to want to start to use, right, a rotation, right, a hip rotation, boom, 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 boom. So you see that idea, right? So as you move, you've got a settling action. Your hips are rotating. And why? Because the center in our bodies is where we create speed from. So your center of gravity is very important in dancing because through your thigh muscles, okay, and your hips, that is what allows the foot to move at a faster speed. If you can understand how to move that, you get a faster foot action, right? Now, the thing about there's a lot in this. So with your oh, it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me in a second. I'll come back onto the main points here, right, that I want to talk to you about. So, okay, that's overall what I'd like you to actually work on. The specific actions of turns we can talk about too, but if you can go back into the drawing board and every step you do, try to understand and feel how much more hip rhythm you do. And that's what I wanted to talk about was displacement. So there's a displacement in your hip. So when you stand on your leg, you should feel that the weight goes into the leg. We call this settling, but the hip also is displacing. It's going out in a lateral motion. So I'm going side, out. That action there is what's missing. Bum. So even if you cha-cha, cha, 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 right? When you finish, there is a rotation or a settling action before you commence the next step. Before. You're going to need to go back through your dancing slowly. So for example, when you do your locks, take your step and feel, so even before I move that foot, right, there's a hip action, yeah? So there's a settling motion and then back. And when you go back, let the hip go, then move forward. And then before you do the next step, let the hip go again. So even if it's exaggerated like that, it's going to help you understand that you're not just going like foot, 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 foot. Yeah. And the knees are working, but everything above the knees is just is like stiff. Yeah. It's dead. So go slow, and then build up the speed. Okay. I like your arms. We don't need to talk about your arms, right? Like they're very, very, you just keep doing that for the moment, right? But your body rhythm needs to be there. There's also a use of the upper body. I talked about Ballroom Mastery Academy Next Level. We do in depth a lot on upper body movement, like how to use your rib cage motion, which is called upper body rhythm, in connection with your hips, right? So how that actually plays out, which then makes your arms even better. In terms of your, well, let's look at, I've got to correct the tops. I almost wanted to, I almost spat my coffee out, which I don't have. So you're lucky, my computer equipment's safe. Those tops are so incorrect, we're going to fix them, all right? So when you do a top, and this is, Not necessarily your teacher's fault. So I don't like to worry about like what your teacher is doing. Basically, I don't get into that game. But there's often a misunderstanding. Sometimes people watch YouTube or they just get taught incorrectly. Tops as a lady do not do this. They don't go. Now, again, I haven't read every technique book in the world, yeah. So there could be a version of this that I'm not aware of. But, you know, I trust my teachers on this one. When you do a top, right? So cha, 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 it's not walking in a circle, right? What happens is the man is dancing around your right foot in a natural top. In a reverse top, you are actually dancing around his left foot. What do I mean by that? Well, the actual foot, let me just see if my foot cam is still, yeah, we're still up and running, so this is good. So let me show you. So when we look at I should use this, I set it up, right? So listen, when I do a top as a lady, 2, 3, I've got cha, cha in my amazing ballroom shoes, right? So what happens here? You actually turn your foot in on the first step. 2, watch my right foot. Turn. 3, the knees are slightly compressed. They're not bouncing, it's not a vaulter, but watch the next step. Boom, boom. Yeah? Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. That's a top. 2, 3. Cha, cha, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Now, if we have a look at your version of it, it's just having a party, yeah? It's just doing what it wants to do. It's just like, you know what? I'm going for a walk. So you have to think of that top as literally being on a dinner plate. Your foot's in the center of that. Okay, so and now your arms, you keep them in that nice position. It's 2, 3, cha cha cha. Your shoulders are square to your partner, right? And you're going 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. And you can close, go to the side, or step forward depending on the next step. And I think you're doing a closed hip twist, so you're going to go back on the next step. Yeah. So point being is that you notice how tight the steps are. Now, what happens then for the man is he's like doing a compressed backward walk. So his knees are flexed. So he's going 2, he's coming around you 3, cha, cha, 1. So you're in that center and he's continuing around you, right? Not in a circle, right? With both feet tracking in a circle, right? So makes sense? So that's a big technical error in that regard. So because it's obvious. It's like doing the wrong step. So fix that. See how you go. Um, Look, I encourage you. If I give you a differing opinion, please don't go into your coach and be like, Vaughan said you're fucking it up. Right? You're totally bombing, right? Where the fuck did you learn to dance, right? Don't do that, right? Just go in, take what I told you, don't say anything, and dance that step like that, right? And what will generally happen is the teacher will notice like, oh, well, that's feeling a bit different. Like, but if they fight you on it, then you're gonna have to have a bit of a discussion about like, well, you know, I also have a second opinion coming in, so watch my video, like, you know, and that, you know, that's what they said. But they didn't say it because they felt like it. It's written in the technique books, so I didn't make this up. So yeah, that's how you discuss it with your coach essentially. So dance it first, and if they really get on the high horse about like something being wrong, be like, okay, we'll bring out the technique book. Can you please just, you know, can you just double check then? Because I got a second opinion, and I'm paying money for this opinion, and I would like to just make sure it's correct, because ultimately that's what matters here, right? Yeah, yeah, you know what I'm doing there. Okay, so, okay, because a lot of coaches honestly get like really caught up on being so right that even if they're wrong, they want to be right, you know? It's one of those things. There's a lot of ego. This is what we're going to come to at the end. Like, there's a lot of ego that really screws up not only coaching, but like students, and then of course, your own self, more importantly, gets in the way. So, the Alemana. Now, this is how we turn. Keep coming with me. Y'all are smashing it. I hope you're enjoying work if you're at work, because this is how you should be working. Dancing. Okay. Alemana. Most people do Alemanas wrong, right? So meaning when they do an Alemana as a lady, so let's take it from a like rock, rock, and cha-cha, 1. This arm comes up. Now, if you notice when you turn, your elbow opens, right? So you do a turn like this. Notice the arm? So the arm is opening. So here's the rule. This is the rule. Are you ready? Step first, then turn. Say it again. Step first, then turn. Say it one more time. Step first, then turn. That's why your rumba improved. Now, you still do it in cha-cha. The other thing you have to understand, though, is if your arm is doing this, you are starting to turn before you stepped. So you must complete your step. Step first here, and then you create your turn through your shoulders and your hips, yeah? So the way you get faster turns is going to be through the use of your shoulders. But naturally, many people's elbow does this and starts to turn. An alamana is not danced when the man lifts his arm up. So what ends up happening is the lady is doing, by the way, an alamana is not a spot turn under the arm. It's their walks turning. So there's a forward walk here. The arm, notice the angle of it, where my head is, and it doesn't lift to turn. You actually turn with the head first. Okay, so you shape that way. Notice the feet position. Then you start to turn your body, and your arm will just do that essentially above your head. Then you'll step forward. There's the second walk, right? And then you'll have a chasse. So it's really 2 walks with a chasse. In rumba, it's 3 walks. But that's the idea. So it's not a spot turn, right? You're not going like this. You're not going 2 and then 3, right? So there's this feeling of the foot first, okay? Shape the head, do your turn, create another walk, and then chasse out. So if you can keep the way you think about this, and what I remember like being an aha moment for turning and leading for Alison really, and any lady subsequently, is that like it's like you're holding or squeezing an orange under your armpit. Okay, so it's like you got an up there, and you don't want to drop your oranges, right? Because what happens? You drop an oranges. So then your turn is affected. Okay, so try that. And there's one more little tip I want to give. This is related more to creating turns, generally speaking. Experiment with this. So when you want to create a sharp turn, using the shoulders is going to create a lot of speed, isn't it? So it can create that, whoom. That's where you get your speed. You can also try turning with the hips first, right? So you step hips, right? Hips, then shoulders, okay? And that you can play with that on different steps, different timings, but that's just the third tip I wanted to give you, okay? So hope that helps. Let me know how you go. Okay, David, let's crack into you and then we'll finish up. Let's go. Okay, you know, I guess it's because I'm getting to know you over the years here, because you've been old hat up in here now, right? You've been with me for several years. This is awesome, right? You have you've made a lot of progress. Okay, I remember when I first saw your first dancing videos, I was like, what are we going to do with this guy? You've done very, very well. Plus, it's not easy like learning to dance, right? Especially like with these sort of tips in this medium. So first of all, I think you've done extremely well. All right, so what you want to do, and this is applicable to everyone learning foxtrot, when you count a quick, even though it's a beat of music, the illusion of it is that you're not supposed to dance it quickly. So for example, we're going to just focus on an aspect here called drifting. And I made a reference to this earlier. So when we're looking at movement continuing, so feet passing, and you count say a feather finish, slow, quick, quick. So let's just understand what we're doing here, right? So if I go as the man for a feather finish, slow, and then quick, and then quick there. You tell me, what's the fastest part of that movement? Which part is the fastest part? I'm counting slow, quick, quick. But is the slow literally danced slow? And is the quick literally danced quick? So for example, am I supposed to dance it slow? Quick, quick. Looks wrong, doesn't it? Because it is, right? So if I'm going from here and going 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what you'll notice in your dancing. You've got this popping happening. It's not uncommon because of what? Well, the goddamn word slow. Slow and the word quick mess people up. Right? I remember Penny being like, when you say the word slow, it sounds slow, like you say it slow. When you say quick, it's over in a second, isn't it? So the word itself is deceptive because you hear it. Now we have to flip it. It's like the slow, even though it's 2 beats of music, is actually where you are accelerating in foxtrot. So even though you're using 2 beats of music, your body is creating remember the lowering, right? So we're actually falling, which is the part of the swing which is the fastest, and the quick quick is the rise. You're actually decelerating there. You're slowing down. So even though we're counting quick and we're using a beat of music, you need to treat it like it's actually the slowest part of the movement. So for example, right, if we do that feather again, I want to be going 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you see that again, and I'll try to stay in frame here. So slow, quick, quick, and then slow. Now notice how I counted the quick, quick. I counted quick, quick to tell my brain, slow down, not speed up. You'll notice on those feathers, yeah, these feather finishes here, boom, chicka boom. That was the feather finish. So watch the slow, quick, quick. So you're slow, you're sort of stopping rather than continuing through, and then the quick, quick is like a pop. Have a look at the next one. Pop. That was a little better. Slow, quick, quick, slow, quick, quick, slow, quick, quick. See how you're rushing? Okay, so what do you do? Okay, so this is where God, it's not that. So so what do you do? Drift. You have to think of drifting. So when you step and you point your foot, diagonal to wall, for example, for the feather finish, okay, that's a toe, and the next step is a toe. You want to feel your body slowing down and your foot continuing, right? So try this. Just stand on your left foot, okay? We'll get some foot cam. Oh yeah, come on now. Right, there we go. So stand on your feet with your weight apart, okay? Heel of the left foot up, bring your right foot in, brush it past. Now stay on your left foot and push that foot through and go. Because you're a crazy rebel like me, you're gonna push it a little bit further. And because you're also just like living on the edge, you're gonna go a little bit more, you crazy bastard, right? Then you can lower. You're gonna find that little extra, okay, this little extra here, instead of just plonking quick, you're going to push a little bit, and you're going to find as you lower, you can then swing through. Now, do you notice the quality of the movement change, right? So the difference is going quick, quick, slow, to going from here, quick, quick, and then slow, and you can create a much nicer movement, right? So that's what you do. If anything, just focus on your feather finishes or any feather steps, and understanding that you slow down at the quick quick, because remember the hotel lobby idea? Ground first floor. You're hitting first floor and sort of cruising there. So when you count quick quick, you're going level 1 quick quick, and you're staying there and you're hovering or drifting. So the feet continue. That's what gives foxtrot that beautiful like continuous movement. Your legs have that the capacity to go a little bit further than where you think you should finish. Now, when it comes to your partner, I know that she doesn't like to be held close, and that's totally cool, even though it would be optimal. Remember, her job is to respond to that. So a lot of the times you'll try something new, your partner's used to you dancing a certain way, and then they'll be like, oh, what are you doing? Or like, oh, I can't follow you now. And you just have to say to her, look, I mean, try to follow me on this, like meaning that she also, as the lady, so ladies, when you go back, on the tip of that toe, she has to continue a little bit more as well. So when ladies do a feather, what's it called? A feather finish, slow, quick, that foot has to continue a little bit more, and then that allows the body to then get pulled onto the leg. So if she just plonks her foot, that's going to be hard for you to do the drift. So the both of you have to understand what you're trying to achieve, and only do it in one figure. Just do it in the feather finish because you do a lot of them, and it's probably the one to really get, because when you do like a weave or a continuous weave, it's a different idea, but it finishes with a feather finish, doesn't it? When you do a reverse turn, it finishes with a feather finish, right? So this is a very important step to understand. And then it also trains you, okay? So that's my major thing that I would like you to work on this month with your foxtrot, okay? It's just to try to drift your feet a little bit more. It's absolutely possible for you and your level. It's not out of the realm of possibility at all. We're not asking you to do crazy shaping, trying to extend your movement much more. You're actually just trying to make your movement way more soft and fluid, all right? And as a tip for everyone thinking about that with ballroom dancing, the way you lower your feet from a toe to a heel is going to create a certain quality as well. So if you plonk your heel down, you are going to notice a big hit, right? And so that creates a type of rhythm, doesn't it? So the quality of the lowering as the man or lady from toe to heel creates the quality of movement. So keep that in mind as well. So every time you step, it really does matter. But enjoy that drifting idea. Okay, I have an amazing time with you all today. Let's just quickly staying with me. Thank you, appreciate it. I love these questions. They're really, really good. And I would like to just finish with some food for thought about ego protecting, right? So everyone has an ego. Ego is not conceit. We're not talking about a conflated sense of self. We're not talking about the ego in the sense of like being a show pony, wanting all this attention. That's more, say, lending itself maybe towards narcissism or like all different types of inferiority or superiority complexes. We're not talking about those sorts of personality traits either, extroversion or introversion. We're talking about ego. There is an important part of you and me that protects itself. So when you want to learn something, and then you find that you need to put that in front of people, like demonstrating ballroom dancing. When you use competition as an example here, or filming yourself, or any time you're under duress, like public speaking. So think about those moments when you want to be in front of people, or even dancing at a party. Have you ever felt when you're at a party wanting to dance? The song is so good, but there's something that holds you back. Maybe you've just gone, oh, and you thought, what are the people going to think of me? Or I'm going to look like a fool. That's your ego protecting yourself, and it serves a purpose. So this is not a bad thing. You just have to understand what's going on. This is an awareness type of exercise. So we've all had an experience like that. Now, it doesn't mean everybody continues in that experience. I sort of lend this towards the idea of like, there are people that just seem to not give a shit. Like how are those people doing that? It turns out that they learn to detach from their ego. And detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It doesn't mean you don't have, it's not, detachment does not mean you are dead inside and you don't have any emotions. This is something that I think is misunderstood, say from the Buddhist style of tradition or the yogic tradition, where it's like, okay, now I'm in nirvana, I feel nothing. Like, no, your emotions are fully present. You are connected to yourself. You feel joy, you feel sadness, you have all of those, but you're not connected to them, right? That you're like observing them, all right? So part of the reason people can't experiment in ballroom dancing, or they lack the courage to move away from what they know and to try something new, or to just as simple as like get up and dance at a party because they like the song, and to just be in that moment and not actually care, is because of that ego protection. And detaching from that outcome is going to absolutely smash you, put you into the stratosphere when it comes to elevating your life across the board. Because you're going to start to care less about rejection. You're going to start to care less about what people think of you. All right. Now, you have to remember, it does serve a purpose, what people think of you. There's a tribal idea where, growing up, you needed a good reputation, right? It wasn't good to like pillage, plunder, rape, and just psychopathically destroy people, because, the people wouldn't then look after you in turn, would they? So there's a utility to like, what do people think of me? It's when that takes ownership of you and you don't push yourself to the next stage, or you try that new venture, or you take a risk, or you ask that person out, or you move for a promotion, or you ask for a raise, or you quit your job, right? All of those things there often are held back because of your idea of what someone else is going to think of you doing that thing. All right. And that's what the detachment's important for, particularly in dancing, because you're going to need to put yourself out there, aren't you? Like I do online. But I've found that if my ego is protecting me, I'm like, holy Lord, what are people going to think of me? I tell you, I put a lot of videos out, right? There are lots of videos I haven't put out because I've stood there ready to hit the button and I've gone, what am I going to say? Oh, what if that person that I really like sees this video? What if that person that hates me, that doesn't like me, doesn't like my dancing, doesn't like my smile, whatever I'm saying to myself, what if they see it, right? Bang, ego protection kicks in. It's like, don't do it. Don't do it, right? And then guess what happens? You rationalize, which is rationing lies to the mind. So you start to think, oh yeah, I'll go clean. Why not, right? Like, oh yeah, I'll just get a coffee, then not come back. You're totally bullshit yourself. And you know this, we've all done this, right? So the point is that it serves a purpose because it's stopping you from sort of dying, right? Like, because what if you took a risk and you did die? Or what if you took a risk and you broke an ankle, right? So there is a utility in protecting yourself, but most of it's mental, particularly in dancing. Why should you really care what people think about your dancing? I mean, honestly, what doesn't serve a purpose, right? This is why I think it's great you send me videos. It's like, dance like a goddamn numpty, right? Like, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, my opinion, does it really matter that much, you know? So what should happen is I give you advice to make your dancing better, but it's not like you need my validation on whether you should keep dancing or not. Do you understand? And so I would encourage you this week, because for me personally, when I notice myself, and remember, you're observing yourself, you should be trying to observe yourself, not in yourself, like everything weighs on you to the point where your entire existence depends on someone's approval of your dancing or your validation. You're observing yourself learning to dance and try, and you can sort of laugh at yourself that way. So you're not like so involved emotionally in it that you feel horrible if it doesn't work out, right? Observe yourself. Notice when that happens. Notice when like your own ego comes in to protect yourself, and what that actually is. And then like ask yourself, is that actually serving me? Is that actually helping me right now? And you'll probably notice, no, that isn't. And I'm holding back. I'm scared of experimenting right now. I'm scared of trying that new thing. And that's the protective mechanism. And it's fucking you, right? It's stopping you from improving and progressing. So notice what it is, thank yourself, and then just go, I'm going to do it anyway. And if it doesn't work out, like laugh at yourself, have that healthy space. But in your mind, you've sort of created this gap. You're not like in it, you're observing yourself. All right. So see how you go with that type of mentality, that type of mindset as you go forward this month. It's been a pleasure being here with you. I've loved it. Make sure if you want access to BMA or the next level, or if you need help with any of the courses I have, to hit me up with an email, send me some of your videos, and make sure you like and share and comment on the YouTube channels to help out those videos grow, and tell your friends, all right? It's been a pleasure being here. I'll see you next month, you crazy dancers.